Hey, everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. If you're a fan of bodybuilding in this industry, you know exactly who this man is. He's a pro creator. He's also the president, founder of Dieu Nutrition. Please welcome Hany Rambod. What's up, Hany?
What's up, brother? How are you?
Good, man. You had a great weekend. I saw you running around all over the place with your clients and everything. Man, question, how much sleep did you get from like Friday to Sunday? I'm guessing none.
I think I got about 4 hours from like Wednesday till Sunday. Okay. It was like 4 or 5 hours, but that was starting like Wednesday or Thursday. It was definitely a very interesting weekend because this is the first time my 8-year-old son, Cameron, was able to join me. Fairness is always there. Yeah. She's a huge fan of the sport. I met my wife at a bodybuilding contest, USA's, way back when. And, Cameron's been on her lap, in her belly at all of these shows, pictures with Jay, pictures with Phil, pictures with all these guys. But now he actually was there and he's like, hey, so-and-so is looking a little bit flat, Dad. 8 years old. And he's like, all right, he's talking about prep,
Wow.
And I was just like, So Cameron will be taking on clients this coming year. He's going to be doing prep. So
he's probably already better than some coaches I know. Thank you. Man. So let's start with you had two. I don't know. Did you have more than two people in the show or just the two I'm thinking of?
No, I had three. I had Andre, who did men's physique, and he placed 7th. And then we had Hadi, who placed in the top 3, 3rd. And then we had also obviously Derek Lunsford, who ended up winning the 212. And the nice thing about that was the first time we worked together and we're able to actually have a really good result.
Let's start with Lunsford, of course.
You got the Lunsford shirt on, man. I just saw that. That's awesome, man. Representing.
If anyone gets mad, say, if you give me your shirt, I'll wear your shirt too. But you didn't. Derek did. So there you go. I've seen this kid from day one. I saw him turn pro at the USA. Saw him a week later win his pro debut in Tampa. He's been knocking on the door. He was second place a couple times, but he couldn't, as we say, really land the plane. Nothing against his coach, James, or anything, but it always seemed like a last minute issue with him. I'd see him a week or two out from the show. I'm like, yes. I'd see him come out on stage like, no, what did he do? But once I heard he was working with you, I was like, okay, everything's going to be okay. I didn't know if he'd win or lose, but I know he would bring the package that I always wanted to see: full, dry, crisp, all that. You're a perfectionist. You demand perfection, or you're always chasing it. So I knew. And once he came out, I was like, yes, it's all good. He talked in a couple interviews with me about the first thing he said was, I'm a trainer, and no one had ever really worked with him on his training before, and a lot of coaches don't. A lot of coaches just handle the diet and the supplements, and they don't do the full spectrum where training is critical. And I honestly believe, this is not to just kiss your ass, say FST7 is the greatest thing since sliced bread, but he had a more, this is your phrase I'm stealing, 3D. He had a more 3D look. There was more roundness. His shoulders were always big, but they had a squared off look to them. And I said, that's where some of these guys were always getting them. They had a lot more roundness and fullness. This kid has the most beautiful structure, clavicles out to here, waist, this and that. So when you first started working with him, what were some of the things you really revamped about his training style?
The first thing I hated about his physique was his legs. It really bothered me because how wide his shoulders were. I'm like, God, dude, it looks like a big F-150 Raptor and with tiny little wheels on it. And I think part of it was because he was dieting them a little bit away or whatever they were doing. And again, and this is no dig. I don't know who his coach was personally, and this is no dig because everybody wants me to go talk about this or that, about, whatever, drama with coaches. Look, man, I mean, the guy did a great job with him early on. Obviously, some things probably weren't clicking, and it's not going to be just his fault. This is the thing. I think you said his name was James. Yeah. Whatever James did, he helped him turn pro. He did a bunch of other things, and everybody wants people to talk shit about other coaches, or they want this or that. I'm not that guy, man. Yeah. Everybody is doing the best they can with what they have to work with. There's a lot of things that they have accomplished. So at the end of the day, what I look at is, I looked at him and said, okay, what are some of the things that you did? Where did you end up? I know that what I looked at was like physically, I wanted him to more 3D through his body parts, especially through his legs. I wanted to work on his hamstrings. I wanted to work on detail through his glute hamstring. I wanted to be able to make sure to have that while having more pop. I looked at his weight where he weighed in. I think he was 201 last year.
Wow.
Yeah. So we weighed in at 211 and a half. So, I wanted to make sure that we get conditioned, but we don't get so conditioned that we lose the volume. And so when you're trying to do that, when you have an actual weight that you got to do and work within, it's much more difficult than having an open guy. With an open guy, whatever you go after the best package. You don't have to worry about that other variable, which is weight. And so the first thing I did was I really wanted to revamp the legs. And then I started working on being able to create a little bit more depth through the back with some of the training techniques and different stuff that we added in. And obviously FSD7 is the mainstay. I mean, I created it initially for a lot of the reason was because of Phil Heath, because I was trying to increase intensity way back when I was doing online coaching. And I figured out that how do I increase intensity? And so then I created the FSD7 program way back then. And so, Phil is very naturally three-dimensional, but he was also, obviously, when I started with him, he was a lot smaller. He was like, I don't know, 205, 210 or whatever he was when we did our first show. I think we were probably around 210. And then we grew. And people said, well, what do you want to do with Derek? And I said, Derek, I kind of want to make him into like a JVJ. I call him the JVJ, like a junior varsity version of Jay, right? Because he's in the lower weight division, at least for now. And I wanted to try to come back and bring his physique in, kind of like what we did with Jay in 09 when I worked with Jay in 09, and use the training, use the nutrition, use all of the different techniques that I use to be able to really refine the physique and be able to give him more pop, but be able to also do that in a way where you see the best lines. And I feel like, there's a lot of the guys in there are monsters. I think it was the most competitive 212 lineup I've ever seen. I mean, Sean Clarita is an amazing physique, has a, crazy, talk about three-dimensional. He's not super wide, but he's got this pop to him, right? Yeah. You have Kamal. So Kamal, let's talk about Kamal. 50 years old. The guy is an amazing champion. Okay. And he's an amazing champion. Amazing. He's like the guy is granite. And because of all the shows, all of that stuff, that when you season that muscle, you get that kind of Kamal look. Because Derek's done 5 pro shows his whole life, including last weekend, right? He's done Tampa and he's done the Olympia 4 times.
That's right. That's it.
So you don't have that time to gain all of that graininess that Hadi has and all of the stuff through just going through that meat grinder constantly that creates that density. And even when you do genetically, again, to bring a parallel to Jay's done a ton of shows since he was in high school, right? Since he was a teen, he started competing. Then he still didn't have that kind of crazy graininess. Even in 09, when we brought him in, 01, when he worked with Chris, 09, when he worked with me, all of those looks, as great as they were, he doesn't have that type of physique, right? There were certain body parts that would always never be super, super grainy. We just had to try to balance it out.
His arms.
Exactly. Yeah. Like his legs would be ripped and then his upper body would look like it was 4 weeks out. Right. So those types of things. So with Derek, I used the same approach as I did in Jay with 09. I turned around and said, okay, try not to chase something that's just not going to happen. Try to turn around and really bring out his strengths, which is his width, and try to increase his 3-dimensionality of his body parts, increase separation. So when he goes into that back double bicep, he's got that lower back where that tree's popping and you got, the erectors popping, glutes, hamstrings are super stripped out. And is he going to be a Phil? No, but is he going to be a crazy version of himself where we can get that conditioning top to bottom, front to back, and make sure that we are able to also make weight? and that was what it was all about. So again, I wasn't a huge fan of his legs, and I think that's where he's improved the most was his legs. And I think a lot of it had to do with keeping his weight as high as possible while trying to weigh in. And then also, using the FSD7 volume methods, along with continuously also using high intensity with heavy weights for the base sets. So everybody knows that I am huge on training. I come from a natural bodybuilding background myself. So everything was always about training, and everything else beyond that is just is a little bit of seasoning in addition to. It's not the base. And when you turn around and you try to make that into the major focus, I think your body might look good for 1 or 2 years and then it falls to shit.
So, a huge talk about him earlier in the season was he's guest posing. He's looking enormous. I know he was up around 250 pounds at one point and pretty good condition. It wasn't like he was bloated or anything like that. People were saying he's never going to make weight. There's just no way.
Mm-hmm.
And when I heard he was working with you, I'm like, he'll make weight. Hany will get him. Hany will do it. I just don't know what he's going to look like. I don't know if he's going to be super flat and depleted looking at 212. And I don't know what you did, but he wasn't. He didn't look stringy or anything like my fears were totally unfounded. It's a funny thing at the Sunday morning seminar, someone asked him about that. And he said, yeah, I was worried about Hany getting me down. I was worried about making weight. And Hany said, no, we're going to build you up. We're going to make you more 3D first. And he basically panicked. He goes, oh no, because he was already freaking out. Like, how am I going to get to 212? But, I knew you would get him there. And somehow you managed to have him looking full and big at 212, which most people thought, nope, he's all done with 212.
Yep. And I think, first of all, he was never 250, maybe in the off season at his very peak. But I think a lot of people saw him guest pose and all of that. He was, low 230s. He looked great. Yeah. But again, that still wasn't contest conditioning, especially for my standard, right? So my thing was that I did have a plan very early on. And because did he freak out? Yeah, he freaked out a lot. I'll be honest with you, because I want to keep things really transparent, because people think it's all like, roses and chocolates and roses, and it's not. And I think, and me learning how to understand him and not knowing that he had not done a lot of shows. And I think probably some guessing went on with some of their previous preps where just basic lingo and things like that I had to teach him and understand, what does pushing mean? When a muscle's pushing, are you pushing? And he's like, I don't even know what that means. Are your legs pushing? And I'm like, dude, I literally felt like I had to go back and work with somebody from the very beginning. So for me, it was a very, very, it was a moment that I hadn't done that in like 15 years, maybe 20. Yeah. Right. Where I'd gone down to that level of just somebody starting out with just basic, terminology. Right. So I think that it was one of those things where I'm like, okay, I did have a couple of oh shit moments where I said, oh shit, what are we doing here? And are we going to be able to make it? Because I did feel like he had a lot of times where there was like, he's like, well, what are we going to do? How's it go? I'm like, bro, just follow and execute and we'll be okay. But you got to stay calm. Yeah. We got to stay calm. So I think everybody says, well, how do you be able to get your success rate somewhat, higher than a lot of others? Yeah. And a lot of it has to do with being able to teach people not just FST7 training, but you got to be tough enough to be able to handle that kind of FST7 training. And my techniques that are built around it, the dieting techniques, the training techniques, the cardio techniques, you can't be a weak-minded person. So you have to have a fundamental thing. And he comes from a wrestling background. Phil came from a basketball coachable background. So I took that and I try to build on that. And I think a lot of people don't understand that you really have to pick and choose your athletes to be able to understand what are their capabilities. If you want to just do it for like, hey, look, man, I'm making a living. It doesn't matter what their performance is going to be. If they end up getting a pro card and they're happy with that, that's great. And that used to be the big deal. That's why they called me a pro creator, right? I mean, you actually helped come up with that whole column 20 years ago for the pro creator column. And because I was turning a lot of people pro at the time, winning the USAs and everything. And then when it became easier and easier to turn pro, then it was about winning O's, right? Yeah. And I think that what I understood was that it's really difficult to work with people and trying to get them to do what you want them to do when you just put it in words. You really have to use many different mind strengthening techniques to be able to get them to understand it. It's probably similar to what they do in the special forces, right? It's a lot of it is very mental, because look at how many strong guys are out there in the Army and they want to be Green Berets or anything. That's what it takes to get to a level like this. And not just for Derek, but for all these previous champions that have been around, and especially the multi-year winners, the Jays and the Phils and the Ronnies and the Dorians. It's up in here because a lot of those guys are super, super strong and they're willing to do it. And people want to say, hey, look, it's something that they're taking or this or that. No, man, it's the mental strength and the coachability. And I think that's the, those are the biggest points that I keep telling people. I go, I'm getting questions left and right when they're like people coming off stage and people are grabbing me and they're like, dude, how'd you do that? And I go, it's not one quick, simple answer. It's a process.
Yeah. Two more Derek questions and we'll move on. First one is,
Sure.
There was very close in a lot of people's minds Friday at the judging. Take yourself out of the equation and be objective. Look at it as a judge. How did Derek beat Sean Clarita? Where did he beat him on?
Okay, so I think he's got a nicer front double bicep. He's wider. He's got him on. So let's go through the poses. Yeah. He's got a nicer front double bicep. He's wider, and it's just. I mean, he looks like it's photoshopped. I think it's one of the best front double biceps in all of bodybuilding.
It is.
Okay, so that's the first pose. Then when you go into the side poses, I think let's just say lat spread. I think Sean Clarita's got him on that because he's got a little bit more thickness and pop to his chest. I think he's got him in that one. I think that the side poses where Derek really pops is because he's got the width. So when he's turning and he's got the thigh sweep, the quad to hamstring, you gotta remember he outweighs Sean by like 35 pounds. Yeah. Okay. Sean Clarita weighed in at 185 pounds with clothes on. Okay. And that's with shoes, sweatshirt, sweats, a hat. I mean, he had like the whole garb on. So he was, if at 185 with everything, he's probably like 178. Yeah. Okay. So Derek's 211 and a half. Okay. And so at the end of the day, I mean, it's roughly 30 pounds, 35 pounds. Yeah. So when you look at that, it does make up a difference. So whatever he loses in terms of graininess that Sean has, or pop, he makes up for in width and just overall size. And then when you turn him to the side, I felt like Sean through his midsection and all that was a little bit washed out this year. I think he was more detailed last year. And then when you turn him around, I give the back double bicep and the rear lat spread because he just eclipses everybody because of how wide he is. And it's one of his best body parts is his back. Yeah. So when you look at back double bicep and you look at that and then the dryness of the glutes, the hamstrings, the three-dimensionality of the outer quad sweep to the adductors and in between, I think when you start to break all of those things down, he takes those two shots. Then when you go back to the front, I think he takes the front, the ab thigh. And I think the most muscular, I would give back to Sean Clarita on that, because I think that Sean's got, again, the same reason why I give him the front lat spread as well. So it's like a 5-2. And so that's my breakdown right there.
Final question. We hear this all the time. He needs to go to open. Does he need to go to open in your opinion?
No. I think what he needs to do is continuing to work on to round out his muscle bellies and continue to build more separation through his chest, his shoulders, his arms, those areas that we felt that we talked about earlier in the conversation that he could definitely improve upon. And I think he can work on that as well as just refinement of his overall physique. I like to see even a little bit more thigh sweep. I'd like to see a little bit of that. So I think those are the things I'd like to see.
All right, let's move on to the Persian Wolf, Hadi Choopan. You had a hell of a time getting into the USA last year. It was similar, you said.
Let me. I'm sorry. Let me finish that statement too about the open thing. So, yes. And then if he seems to outgrow, let's say he starts to really grow, and he does get into that flatness thing, which I'm going to have to try to make sure that doesn't happen. Then, if that becomes detrimental to his physique, where it's just like he just looks way too good and way too bad under 212 and way too good above it, then that's when obviously the natural move is going to have to be. But do I think we can get probably do another Olympia with this? Yes, I think we can. But eventually, could he be an open guy? Absolutely. It's just a matter of seeing how that progression goes. So
yeah, well, because is it better to keep winning in the 212 Olympia versus being like third place at the Open Olympia? I don't know.
Well, it depends on if you can even get to third place, because we'll talk about Hadi and how size now really is becoming the thing. So, you know what I mean?
So my first Hadi question is, how'd you get him here? So it was like 5 weeks, 4 weeks?
Yeah, it was like 5 weeks out. I got him here because we were here for about a month before we went to Florida.
Was it a much easier time process getting here than it was last year?
Yes, because of the COVID thing and because there was some things that were put in place from the previous year, there were some things that were definitely easier. Last year, because of COVID, the embassies and the consulates were shut down. This year, they were back up again. Oh. So there were some things that they were able to do. And then obviously his team with Mahdi and Hadi Pasfar and the brothers, they were able to get a lot of that stuff taken care of for us. way ahead of time. And again, I said, hey, look, I need to get him here early. It's really something that we needed to do, is get him here early so that I can actually train with him like we did in 2019.
Yeah. Physique wise, how much of a difference did it make? Because last year was like didn't he show up like 48 hours before the show, or 72
Yeah,
hours?
it was like 2.5 days before last year. And then he dropped water for the prejudging, but still wasn't enough. And then he was like fourth or fifth. I think it was like fifth, maybe the first night. And the second night he got straight seconds. And then it moved him to fourth place, a point behind Phil.
Right.
And it made a huge difference. I think it made a huge difference because I think we were able to get the conditioning we had in 2019 with the size that we had in 2020.
Yeah. So there were a lot of arguments for Hadi winning. A lot of people were posting. I'm sure you saw a lot of the comments on social media. They thought he was robbed. He should have won. And you could make the argument that he had the best condition up there. The only knock is he's a half foot shorter and 60 pounds lighter than Big Ramy and Curry's even a bigger guy. Are we ever going to see the judging shift again? Or does it seem like someone that's this big just can't be beaten? This 295 pound, 5'10" guy who's as wide as, two normal human beings.
Yeah, I don't know. We're going to have to see how that goes down. I would have liked to see if Big Ramy, I would have liked to see him improve on last year. And I don't think he did. I don't think he did. I think that he was more watery. I think he did look better the second night, but I think he didn't look as good as he did last year. Now, was he good enough to win and all that? That's all, obviously, I'm not one of the judges. That's going to be up to the judges. And is Brandon still considered a bigger guy? Absolutely. In the past, I thought bodybuilding was about winning, through condition. But I do think that it's one of those things that Hadi can still improve a bit. I still think that he can put on some size to look bigger, because it's an illusion. Bodybuilding is an illusion, right? Yeah. So a smaller guy can beat a bigger guy. I mean, Dexter Jackson won, right? And Phil Heath was beating Ramy back when Ramy was Ramy in 290, 295 too. Right. So, and I also don't think that Big Ramy, he looked about the same back then. I mean, certain things a little bit better, maybe. I'd have to look at the pictures, but Ramy's been very, very good for a while. But I think that last year he had his breakout year for multiple reasons, but he had, by dieting all the way through the Arnold, and he had another show that he was going to do, then he got a special invite, then he ended up, continuing the diet, and he was more ripped last year to this year. Now, is he bigger this year? He might have been, but I personally like a more ripped physique, like to be able to be able to just show off the separation. Yeah. And I think, there's definitely, you got a big guy with Ramy, then you got a guy with shape that's still, a little bit better shape, I think, than Big Ramy is Brandon Curry. And then you have the best conditioned guy, which is, Hadi, but he's also smaller than both of them. So, but at the end of the day, I also think Hadi is more complete. But what it turns into is kind of like do you like chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry? And you got the three guys. And at the end of the day, it's, some people probably thought Brandon Curry should have won. But a lot of people thought Hadi, because I think he was most complete. That's why a lot of people are online are saying, hey, look, man, he got robbed, or he got this, or he got that. It's because I think that there's a certain standard of conditioning that people expect in the Olympia. So I think that's why a lot of the people are kind of like, hey, the argument for Hadi winning is from a conditioning standpoint.
Yeah. I mean, I've said it many times. If Big Ramy had the level of muscle separation depth and detail, every little fiber like Phil had, like Hadi has, he could keep winning that Olympia title as long as he could stay healthy 10 times, maybe, who knows. But I haven't seen, I've been there from the beginning with Ramy, first show I haven't missed too many. And I don't see any improvement in that quote unquote muscle maturity aspect in his physique. And I don't want to knock on, he's a great champion. He's one of the greatest. Yeah. But man,
we love them. I mean, this has nothing to do with him as a person. I think we're here to pick apart people's physiques. I mean, that's what we're doing.
Because when you say he's been very good for a very long time, he hasn't really changed from 2013 to now, very much at all. Go back and look at his first pro win, 2013 New York Pro, pretty much the same as he looks now. I mean, he was already 285 pounds on stage. What was he, another 10 pounds now? So yeah. But getting back to Hadi, what is he, what do you want to do? Get him bigger? Because I'm going to throw a number out there. Tell me how far off. I'm guessing he's about 220 to 223, something like that on stage.
You're close, a little heavier than that, but you're close.
Okay. Does he need to be 10, 15 pounds heavier? What does he need?
His frame can't handle that kind of weight. Like with him, 3 to 5 pounds goes a long way. Yeah. So I don't think that we need to go much higher than that. I think, dabbling in the 232, 230, 235 ish, 232, is good. People go, oh, 10, 15 pounds. I mean, with a guy with his height, it would blow out his proportions. So I think that, there's a combination there. But the second night, what we did also is that we came in a little bit fuller. Yes. Lighting was set up differently. There's no strobe lights, thank God, because that whole strobe light thing's got to go because it made everybody look horrible. And luckily Hadi was so conditioned that he still looked great. But I'm not a fan of the strobe lights. The bottom line is that what we got to do is that second night, I said, hey, look, you know what? After seeing what everybody else brought in terms of conditioning, I'm like, this is not a conditioning contest. Yeah. Let's go ahead and let's step it up even further with the fullness, and let's go ahead and push it a little further. So then I could turn around and saw what we were, going up against, and then we made the adjustments for the second night.
Yeah, because I was sitting there with Milos, we're doing the commentating and stuff, and he said Friday night he's flat. Legs look a little down, and then I said, I know Hany, and Hany's got this reputation of making people. Phil was known as Mr. Saturday Night. He was never 100% on Friday night. And everyone was like, I don't know if he's got it. And then Saturday night, he'd come out and be like, oh, all right, never mind. And I said, he's got Hany Rambod. He's going to be okay. And sure enough, he comes out Saturday night, significantly fuller, conditioning just as good. Better because, as you always say, when you're fuller, those muscles really push against the skin. Separations are deeper. He looked damn great on Saturday night. But I knew he wasn't going to win, especially when he got People's Champion. I was like, oh no, that's like the consolation prize. Oh, there you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, sorry.
No worries. Yeah. Well, enough about that. Let's talk about something else. I noticed on stage, FST7 training app is a thing. And I don't know if that's brand new or if I'm just finding out about it now.
It's super brand new. It's just the pre-launch. We're launching it here in the next week or so. I just have it up on the FST7 site where you can turn around and do a early purchase, a pre-release purchase. It's going to be coming out. So I'm also giving away an opportunity to train with me. Oh, boy. So as part of that, so anybody who does a pre-release purchase, and again, it goes live here in the next week. I got to talk to the team and find out exactly what day, but I think it's in the next week or so. It's going to be going live. So if you purchase during the time that it is the pre-release sale going on right now, which has also been discounted 25%, and then you also get a chance to win a training session with me. So I'll fly you out, shoot you, put it up on the FST7 channel, put it up on the FST7 Instagram, probably my own page as well, put it up on the FST7 HanyRambod.com page. So all you got to do is just go to HanyRambod.com, purchase, and then you'll be automatically entered to win.
So I know you're a very busy guy, but I have to ask, what took so long? Because training apps have been around for a few years, and I always wondered in the back of my mind, Hany's one of the greatest trainers. I mean, that FST7, I've had people just do the sevens, forget about all the base and all that. I just tell them, oh, I can't get a pump in my whatever body part. I said, do this, 7 sets, same exercise, 30 seconds. And every single one of them came back and said, oh my God, I finally got a chest pump, or I finally got a quad pump. So I was wondering, when was Hany going to come out with a training app? So how long has this been in the works?
It's been in the works for like the last couple of years, man. It's just been, why did it take so long?
Yeah.
Because of this. It's because of Evogen. I mean, Evogen is now in 50 countries around the world. I came up with 10 new products during COVID. We launched about 7 of them so far this year. There's another 3 coming. I redid Cellchem. I redid a lot of the originals and made them even better. And so I've been just really, really busy working on all those things. And then I'm going to get ready to make a big announcement regarding Evogen coming up in the next week or two. There's a new announcement that's going to be coming up regarding that. And so I think the biggest thing has just been that I've been focusing so much with that, and then just a handful of Evogen athletes that I do work with. Yeah. And then, a handful of non-athletes that I work with. And so I know my AirPods are dying here.
Yeah, so
there you go. I got you.
I'll let you go in a minute. I just want to know, how do you even why do you still work with athletes? Because you have so much going on. I mean, running a supplement company, all this stuff. How do you even have time? Because athletes are, especially at that level, very demanding, very time consuming. I'm sure they text you like 1,000 times a day, all hours of the day and night. Can I chew this gum?
Yeah.
Can I go take a dump now, or should I wait? You know, so why do you still work with athletes? You certainly don't need to.
Yeah.
You already established your reputation with that long ago.
Yeah. You know, I like to keep my skill set sharp. And it's one of those things where I also feel that, I mean, we could do a whole entire podcast on the state of bodybuilding. I think there's a lot of misinformation going on. And I think people are trying to find results at the bottom of a vial. And I feel that by not talking up, and I think, you know, I had a conversation with Phil about this morning, Phil Heath. I just feel like I haven't been vocal enough because I've been too busy in my own things to be able to really, I mean, you know, look what happened with George Peterson, right? We still don't know what happened with him. And he passed away the week of the Olympia. And, you know, God bless him, man. I mean, dude, this a couple of days before the show, he was supposed to be, you know, competing against Derek. Yeah. And it's one of those things, man, where I can only imagine what his family's going through right now. And a lot of people, I don't know what him and his coach did. I don't know if he was trying to make weight. If he wasn't, I heard he wasn't, but again, he's such a big guy. So I don't know what's true and what isn't. All I know is there's a lot of death and very, very many people that are getting sick. And this isn't a sport that should be doing that. That shouldn't be. This is supposed to be about health. And I know that anything super competitive is no longer healthy, especially professional bodybuilding. And, you know, I've been blessed enough to work with some amazing athletes and also been able to execute at a high level with these different divisions. Cause, you know, I've had 202 Olympia champions, 212 now, open divisions with 2 different competitors, and Jay and Phil, and then working with the women and Nicole and Jenny Lynn, and just, I mean, 20 Olympia titles. Right. Wow. And so it's surreal to me, but here's the thing. I feel like I need to be a little bit more vocal because I feel like people are listening to gym rats and people that are online false prophets. And I feel that people are trying to sell them solutions that are super unhealthy. And they're trying to, instead of it being about training and nutrition, they're trying to make it too much about the drugs. And that's what it shouldn't be about, because that's a shortcut to a dead end. Okay. Now there's drugs in every sport. And at the end of the day, what really turns me off about what's going on in this modern day state of affairs is the fact that people just try to accept it. And they think, oh, it's always been like this, or it's been this. No, it hasn't. It hasn't. Okay. Yeah. So I think that needs to be talked about more. And I think that, you know, there's lots of different ways of being able to get ready for shows at the highest level without trying to rely solely on that. And that's what ends up happening, is because you're getting a lot of misinformation that, oh man, I heard so-and-so is doing A, B, C, D, and E. And it's not that, man. It really isn't, guys. And you guys are going to sit there and be like, oh, bullshit. Then give me the cycle. Give me this, give me that. You would think that I'm lying if I told you, you know? And at some point, I believe I do need to be more open about some things, because at the end of the day, you guys are just listening to people that are either selling you the stuff or that they are turning around and making you into a lab rat. And that's what's happening right now. And so at the end of the day, you know, God bless George Peterson, his family, and everybody else, because, you know, rest in peace, George, because honestly, man, way too soon, 37 years young. And he is just the nicest guy you've ever met. I mean, super, super nice guy. So I just feel like people need to wake up and stop listening to people that don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and make it about training and nutrition once again, instead of just chasing the results out of the bottom of a vial. Yeah, so, I mean, you know, end of sermon, man. I'm end of sermon. I really feel like it's you guys got to wake the fuck up.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen coaches, online quote unquote coaches, I got to put the air quotes around that word, where I know from talking to people that work with them, they don't even do anything. They don't consult with them on their diet, their workouts. All they do is write up cycles for these people. That's it. As if the training nutrition doesn't even matter. Just tell me what to take. Tell me what drugs, how much, when do you know, oh, it blows my mind.
Dude, besides going in and getting blood work done, talking to your doctor, this is one of those things that you don't go race a car at Laguna Seca and then not get it looked at by a mechanic, right?
Yeah.
And then these people are like racing cars that are not even getting their oil changed. Like they're like, they're just, and then they're wanting to find out when they get a blown motor. Like, bro, like you don't need to do this if you turn around and just be able to really get dialed in, get checkups, make sure you get your blood work done, make sure you go through the extensive list of things that go along with having to do this, especially at a high level. You've got to take care of yourself.
Yeah. I was
Especially
waiting
if you want longevity in the sport.
I was waiting for a car reference from you at some point.
I had to, man. You know me, I'm a car guy. I'm a car guy.
Cars. All right. Well, Hany, thank you so much for taking the time. The website is FST7. Is there a hyphen in there somewhere?
Yeah, it's that one, or just easiest one that takes it to the same page is HanyRambod.com. Just go to HanyRambod.com. Just go to HanyRambod.com. You'll get the FST7 ability to download the FST7 app coming up. The pre-purchase is available now. It'll give you a chance to win a workout with me if you want to sign up right now. And yeah, man, I already know you signed up.
Yeah,
saw
definitely.
you on it.
I definitely want to go out to Los Gatos and get a workout in.
That's it.
Go
to Northern California.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Hany. Appreciate it.
No, absolutely. It was good catching up, and looking forward to doing it again soon.
Right on. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching Ronline Report with Hany Rambod. We'll see you next time. Thanks, man.